Kuf Lamed Beis. Amud Beis will begin at Kuf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, 7 lines from the bottom, at the end of the first wide line, Tanya. We learned previously that we had a machlokes between Rav Yochanan and Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. Rav Yochanan learned that the way we know that Milah is Doiche Shabbos, because the pasuk says that Bayayim. Mashenkin Rav Acha Bar Yaakov said we learn it from the word Shmini. So Tanya Kaval said Rav Yochanan Udaloik Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. We have arrived from the Brisa like Rav Yochanan, that the limit is like Rav Yochanan and not like Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. Because it says Shmini Yimol, that the Milah is on the 8th day, Afilu b'Shabbos, which would imply, initially, our thinking is that Shmini means even on Shabbos, even if the 8th day falls on Shabbos, you would be able to learn out from there that you do the Milas Deicha Shabbos. So Mani Mekayim Mechalal Ma'is Yumas I. It says you do Malach on Shabbos Mechalal Ma'is Yumas. That's B'Shar Malachas Chutz Milah. I would say that that's referring to Shar Malachas, other Malachas, excluding Milah, but Milas Deicha Shabbos. Or perhaps it means even Milah. It means even Milah. We say that Mechalal Ma'is Yumas is Dafka. And that we say Shmini, that Shmini is Lav Davka. Meaning initially we were saying that Shmini is Davka even on Shabbos. But perhaps not. Perhaps that Shmini means not Davka, means Shmini, the 8th day, but not if it falls out on Shabbos. And that Mechalala Mois Yumas is Davka, which includes even the Milah. Umani Mekama Shmini Yimol Chutz Mishabbos. And what I would apply the Shmini means if it doesn't fall out on Shabbos. Talmud Loimar. So therefore, I don't say clearly from here that Milas Deicha Shabbos, Talmud Loimar, Bayayim. Afilu b'Shabbos. So this is a riot of Yochanan that the limit is Bayayim and not Shmini. Omar Rava, Hai Tanam Yikor Ma'ika Nichalei, we'll say if Ma'ika Kashlei. So initially, we were saying that it says that Shmini would mean even on Shabbos, and they're saying perhaps not. That maybe the Shmini is Lav Davka, and it's only if Shmini falls out on Yemei Chol. So we have to learn out from Bayayim. So what's a Masa Matan? What's the Havamina? Why would have I said that Shmini means even on Shabbos? And then why do I reject that and say no, perhaps that Shmini means only Bechol? So when it says Halchikol, this is the explanation. This is a pshat in the Brisa. Shmini Yimol, it says on the 8th day you do the Milah. There's a Shmini Yimol, Afilu b'Shabbos. So initially I would think to say Shmini is Davke, and means even if it falls on Shabbos, you do the Milah, stay for Shabbos. Uma ani mekayim mechalal mois yumas. And where would I apply the Isser doing a Malach on Shabbos? B'Shar Malachos Chutz Milah, not by Milah. Aval Milah Dachi. But I would say that Milah is Deicha Shabbos. My time, what's the reason? Kal v'chaim. I would say it's a Kal v'chaim. Uma tzaras shedeichas avoda. Tzaras, the Isser of cutting off the tzaras, the Isser of cutting off the leprosy. Yishomer b'negar tzaras. It's also to cut it off. It's deicha avoda, and the kohen, if he has a nega, he cannot do the avoda. And if it means that he can't do the avoda, and it will be prevented from doing the avoda because of the tzaras, it's still also to cut off the tzaras to enable him to do the avoda. The Isser of cutting off the tzaras, therefore, is doicha the avoda. We say it stands in the way of avoda. You can't cut off the tzaras, even if it means the kohen will not do the avoda. But if avoda doicha is Shabbos, and yet avoda is doicha Shabbos, or makriv korbanos on Shabbos, even though it involves a malacha. So Milah doicha isa. Milah is doicha tzaras. Milah is doicha tzaras. So Shabbos shenitchos b'nei avoda, or Shabbos which is nitchos b'nei avoda, ein adin shetei Milah doicha isa. If tzaras is doicha avoda, doicha and avoda is doicha Shabbos, well, Milah, if it's doicha tzaras, Milah, if it's doicha tzaras, if there's a neg on the mokum of Milah, you do the Milah, even though it means cutting off the tzaras. So you see that Milah is doicha tzaras. If Milah is doicha tzaras, which is doicha avoda, which is doicha Shabbos, certainly Milah should be doicha Shabbos. So that's what we initially thought. Uma eino de koamara, but then we reject that. And we say, no, you can't learn it out from there. And Shmini is lav davki, you have to learn it out from Bayayim. Hadar Amra, then the Tana says, Umi mind tzaras chamura. You're saying that tzaras is chamur, then tzaras is more chamur than a avodah, therefore more chamur than Shabbos. Del Shabbos chamur. Maybe Shabbos is more chamur than tzaras. Why is that? Shekein yesh v'anshin v'asaras harbe. And because Shabbos has all the Einshin v'Nasaras, there's so many times that's mentioned the Isra to Malach on Shabbos, and it has the punishments of being B'chal Shabbos, and it has Misa and Kores. Umimai mishum dechamira tzarasi. And you're saying, well, but Tzaras is Deich Avoida, and Avoida is Shabbos. No. Maybe Shabbos is more Chomer than Tzaras, and therefore you have no Kal v'Chaimer, L'gabi Mila. Why is Tzaras... You say Tzaras is Deicha, the Avoida, and Avoida is Deicha Shabbos. No, who says that's because it's a Chumrah of Tzaras? Maybe it's still Mimshul Megaber, the way it calls it. Maybe it's because we don't allow you to cut off the Tzaras in order to do the Avoida, because Seif Kol Seif, the person will not be allowed to do the Avoida, because in any event, he'll still be Tomei. And therefore, there's no reason to cut off the tzaras, and therefore it's not because the avodah is, we say, not because tzaras is more chomer than the avodah. It's just that it's also to cut off the tzaras because you will not be able to do the avodah in any event. And so therefore, maybe Shabbos is more chomer than tzaras, and you have no kol v'chomer. Umani mekayim shmini yimol chutz mishabbos, and therefore shmini yimol is lav davka. And it's chutz b'Shabbos Talmud Leimer Bayayim afilu b'Shabbos. That's why l'maskana we say the limud enechanami is from Bayayim. It's from Bayayim and not from Shmini. Tan Rabbanon Mila deiches hatzaras. Mila is deiches hatzaras. So what was underlying the previous limud was that if there's a nega on the makam mila, nevertheless you perform the mila, even though it means cutting off the tzaras. So mila deiches tzaras, bein bismana, bein shalai bismana. Whether the mila is the mila on the 8th day, bismana, or even if it's not on the 8th day, it's still deiches tzaras. Yontav eno deicha ala bismana belvad. Yontav is only deicha bismana. Yontav, and certainly Shabbos, it's only if it's a mila bismana on the 8th day that it is deicha. That mila is deicha Yontav and Shabbos. So we say that mila is deicha tzaras, whether the mila is bismana or not. But that mila is deicha Yontav or Shabbos is only a mila on the 8th day when a mila is bismana. And not a mila. How do I know this? So the Gabi, the first halacha, then mila is deicha tzaras, whether it's bismana or not. Says Yimel Besorah also that the mila should be formed even if there's a tzaras on the makam mila yakuts, you have to perform the mila and you cut it off. Uma ani mekayim yishamar b'negat tzaras. The pasuk says yishamar b'negat tzaras. Where do I apply that? I would say that's b'shar mekayim is chutz mimila. I would say that is not the chomer one. We don't take it to be this in the literally and unconditionally. We say that it applies b'shar mekayim is chutz mimila. Or maybe I say no. That's davka. Yishamar b'negat tzaras is davka, and it applies. Perhaps I would say applies even b'makam mila. Uma ani mekayim Yimel B'Sara Lasa, and then where would I apply Yimel B'Sara Lasa? Perhaps I should say Yimel B'Sara Lasa, that's where it's lav davka. I would say B'Zman Shein B'Beheres. I would say only if there's no Beheres. Talmud Leimer, B'Sar. It says B'Sar, it says extra to Tom B'Sar, which it doesn't have to say. Afopi Sheyesh Beheres, even though if there's a Beheres, you have to cut it off. The B'Sar is telling me that the Mila is performed, even though it means cutting off the Baheres de Nega. So again, just like we had the same Masamatan as we had before, on the Rava Hai Tanami Kuramai Nichle, Ubasai Mai Kashle. What was Nich at the beginning to say that the Mila is Davka and not Yishamar B'Negat Saras? And then the Maskani says, no, I should say that the Yishamar B'Negat Saras is Davka, not the Mila, and that's why I need a special limit of Besar. So Hachikam. Yimal Basar Losa Afa Pishesh Baheres. Perhaps I'll say that Yimal Basar Losa, that's Dafka. And even if there's a nega, Uma Ani Mekana Hisham Benegat Saras, and where would I apply Hisham Benegat Saras? Bisham Mekana Schutz Mila. Aval Mila Dechas at Saras. But I should say that Mila is Dechas at Saras. And the Mila is Dafka. That when it says that Yimal Basar Losa, that's where it's Dafka. My time, why should I say that? Because the also Kal V'Chayr. I would learn out of a Kal V'Chayr. Uma Shabbos Chamura, Madach Shabbos is Chomer. Like we said, because Shabbos has Einshem V'Ashoras Harbe, Mila Deicha. Nevertheless, Mila's Deicha Shabbos, like we learn out of a Yai Mila's Deicha Shabbos, Saras, like Kol Shkein, so certainly Mila should be Deicha Saras. So therefore, initially I thought to say that Yimal B'Sar Los is Dafka, and Yishon Negus Ras is not, and therefore Mila, I would know automatically from that the Mila is Deichat Saras. Uma and then the Tana rejects that when he says he says no, perhaps that's not so. What does he mean by that? Then he says no. How do I know that Shabbos is Chomer? And therefore I say Shabbos is Chomer, and if Mila is Deicha Shabbos, certainly is Deicha Saras. Who says Dilma Saras Chamiri? Maybe Saras is more Chomer. Shekain Deicha Avoda, because it's Deicha Avoda. If there's a nega, if the kohen has a nega, you don't cut it off in order to enable them to do the Avoda. Avoda Deicha Shabbos, and Avoda is Deicha Shabbos, so certainly Saras is more Chomer than Shabbos. Tamalayar Basar Vafal Pishesh Sham Beheres. Says Basar, even though there's Beheres, that's how we learn out that the Mila is Deicha Saras. Lishnachlina Mila Deicha Saras. Mila is Deicha Saras. My time now. Why would I say that? Because it's a mitzvah's essay to perform the mitzvah Mila, so it's Deicha the Loisase of Yisham B'nei Saras. Umay oy einoi de kohomar. Now, why is the Tana to reject that? What does he say? Why does he change that? Hadar kohomar. He says no. Imay the Shabbos chamir. How do I know that Shabbos is chomer? How do I know that you're telling me that Shabbos is chomer b'yesh because it's yesh by einshem v'asoras harbe? Dilma saras chamir. Maybe saras is more chomer. Why should I say that saras is more chomer? Shekain doiches avoda, because saras is doiches avoda. If the kohen has a nega, then we don't say he should cut off the nega in order to enable him to do the avoda. We say that no, he is restricted and he's muzer from cutting off the nega, even if it means he won't be able to do the avoda. So you see that saras is more chomer v'avoda. V'avoda deichus Shabbos, and avoda is more chomer than Shabbos because we do avoda, we mark the karbonos and Shabbos, even though it means that he's doing the malacha. So certainly saras would be more chomer than Shabbos. So therefore, how do I know that? Therefore, we say that it's doicha mila is doicha the saras. Talmud loyma b'sar v'af b'sheisham beheres, even though there's a beheres. Lishnachrina, another approach is mila doicha saras. That we say that mila is doicha saras my time. Because we say the essay of performing the mila is doicha the loisase of cutting off the saras. And then why do we change that? So initially we would say that Mila is Deichat Saras, and it means that Hishomer Nagvat Saras is, we say that it's not the Davka Umay Oyenet Tekomer. Now why do we reverse that? Where do we say that the Esi Deichat Loisase greater? When there's only a Loisase. But hi, essay v'loisase. But by tsaras, you have both. You have a loisase, but you have an essay as well. So therefore, you can't say that the essay of Mila is doicha tsaras, because by tsaras you have hishomer b'negat tsaras. Hishomer is a loisase, And la'asais kachol asher yairo, which is an essay. We don't say an essay is doich haloi sasei in an essay. So therefore, without a special limud, I would not say that the milah is doich the tzaras. Therefore, mani mekayim yimol b'sar losa b'zman shein bam beheres. And I would say that yimol is lavdavke. It means only when there's no beheres, but without a special limud. I would not say that the milah is deicha the tzaras tamid loymer b'sar. That's why I have the special limud b'sar. V'afal pi sheyesham beheres. Even though there's a beheres, it's yakud. Gemara teinach godol tachsiyeh behu b'sar. Well, that's good by a gadol, an adult, that says basar. Katan namiksi be basar, and an eighth day, by the eighth day, it says basar. So then I can learn out from those, in both those cases, I have this extra limud to tell me that the milah is deichat tzaras. However, beinani minalon, how do I know that if it's a katan? But it's not the eighth day, it's not the milah of the eighth day. Now over there, we only know the milah from that pasuk. It says, because the pasuk says himol lechem kol zachar. It says himol lechem kol zachar, but it doesn't say basar. So how do I know over there that the milah is doichem? It's interesting that Rashi says that by a beinani, it's after the eighth day the father's mitzvah to do the milah. That the father's mitzvah on the milah, but there is discussion in the poskim, the different poskim about if that is so, or if the father's obligation for milah is only on the eighth day. Once the eighth day has passed, perhaps that's a chiyuv on Besdin, but not on the father. And Rashi is saying clearly that it does reside with the father. So, Omar Abaya, how do we know that by a beinani, where it doesn't say basar, that it's zeichut saraz? Also, he will learn out from both, from the gadol and from the katan. The gadol loyas, you can't learn it out from a gadol, shekin onish karas, because the gadol, if he doesn't perform the mitzvah milah, he has a punishment of karas. And by the katan, even a beinani, there's no karas. Mi katan loyas, you can't learn out shekin milah b'zman. It's a milah b'zman. Atzar shavush shebehem, the tzar shavush shekibein shekin nimoylim deichus tzaras. The tzar shavush is that there's a mitzvah milah and deichus tzaras. Of course, nimoylim deichus tzaras. So we learn out from the same, from by a beinani, it's a mitzvah milah and it's deicha the tzaras. Rava Omar, Rava says that the b'sar, he has a different limit. Rava Amar Mila Bizmana Daicha Leitzra Krom. He says that Mila Bizmana, you don't need B'sar to teach me Mila Bizmana on the eighth day, that it's Daicha. That is Daicha Tzaraz. I don't need that. Mikal V'chayim I can learn that from a Kal V'chayim. Uma Shabbos the Chamir, Shabbos is Chomur, that it has mitzvahs and as horas, it has as horas, and Harbe and Einshim Harbe, the Daicha. And nevertheless, Mila is Deicha Shabbos, even though Shabbos is Chomor, Tzaras lo kol shekain. So certainly Mila is Deicha Tzaras. So therefore, I have the Basar that is written by Mila Bismana. I don't need it to tell me it's Deicha Tzaras. I can learn out from a Kal V'chaymer. I can apply that, Imena Inyan, to, as the Rishonim speak out, Imena Inyan for Mila Bismana, apply it to a Beinani. Amalei Rosef L'Rov, the Shabbos Chamir, you told me that Shabbos is Chomor, because as Einshim and as Horas Harbe, Dimot Tzaras Chamir, Shekein Deichas Avoida, Vavoida Deichas is Shabbos. Maybe Tzaras is more Chomor, because Tzaras Deicha Avoida, and if I say it's Shabbos. The more Rava answers, no, Hasam Lamishim the Chamir Tzaras. That's not because when we say that you don't cut off the tzaras, even it means even at the expense of the avodah, that you will not be able to do the avodah. It's not because tzaras is machomer, al mishum degavro delay chazi, because the person, the kohen, will not be right to do the avodah, because even if you cut it off, then he still won't be right to do the avodah. It'll be tummy. So therefore, you have no right that it's more chomer. In fact, the Gemara Omai, Yakas Bahar Taviyavan, cut off the Baharis and let him do the Voida. The Gemara says, what do you mean? Mechuser Tfilu. He's still Tomei, is Mechuser Tfilu. So no, Rav Safra says Tenach Negoim Tameim. Well, that's true if it's a nega which is Tomei. Therefore, even if you cut it off, it'll still be Tomei. You won't be able to do the avodah. But what will you say in a case of Negoim Tzaharim Ma'ikel Meimar? If you have a case of a nega which is Torah, let's say the nega covers his whole body, so he's Torah, but he still can't do the avodah. As the Rishonim speak out, he's considered a Balmum. So he's considered a Balmum, he can't do the avodah, but he's not Tameh, so why not say in such a case cut off the nega? Or if you have different types of a Negoim which have a simin, a nega, which is not Tameh, a boyak, which is not Tameh, why don't you say cut it off and do the avodah? Elamai, therefore we say that must be that it's not because of the fact that the person can't do the avodah, it's because of the chumrah of tzaras. A nega is more chumrah than tzaras. Elamar Rav Ashi says no. He says not like Rav Safra. He says, when would I say that an essay is doicha aloi saseh kigain mila b'tzaras? That's the case of mila b'tzaras in tzitzis v'kilayim, or a case of tzitzis kilayim that you have a linen garment that you put on the tzitzis, even if it has the tchelas, which is out of wool, even though it's kilayim and normally it's also. But we allow you, we say the essay of putting on tzitzis is doicha the lav of kilayim. That's in those types of cases to be in the me'akar lav kamaykim es, where at the time when he's over the lav, he cuts off the tzaras, but at the same moment he's mekayim the mitzvah of milah. He is wearing kilayim, but he's mekayim the mitzvah of tzitzis. But hacha be'idin the mesakar lav. But here, when you cut off the tzaras, loy kamaykim esek, you're not mekayim the esek. The essay only comes afterwards when you do the avodah. So therefore, you say that it cannot be doicha. You cannot say that the avodah should be doicha tzaras, because by cutting off the tzaras, you're not mekayim at that moment the mitzvah avodah. So the fact that you don't cut off the tzaras in order to do the avodah, that doesn't show you, he says, it doesn't show you that means that tzaras is more chomer. It means that you can't do it because you're not being mekayim the mitzvah at that point. So we won't say that the essay should be doicha l'isasi. V'hod the Rav Safra, this machlokes Rav Safra tanoim. It's actually a machlokes tanoim. The Tanya learns in the Brayse B'sar afal pi sheisham beheres himo. The Rav Ashi says you learn out from B'sar, from the word B'sar, that even though there's a beheres, that you do the meal. Rav Yonasan Omer ein tzorach. He says it's not necessary. Shabbat ein tzorach. Shabbat is chamura doicha madach. Mila is doicha Shabbat, which is chomor. Tzaras lo kol shekain. Certainly, it should be mila should be doicha tzaras. So you see that it's machlokes if you use the word besar to teach me that it's doicha, the mila b'zman is doicha. Or do you say, no, you don't need the word besar to tell me mila b'zman is doicha, you would learn it out of a kal v'chaymer. That's machlokes Rava and Rav Safra.